Hey everybody, this is Godfist here, coming at you with some of my thoughts. Was working with a couple students the other day and trying to get a few moves done correctly, trying to develop a technique, very basic level stuff, and running into the issue of not seeing the energy or power that we're looking for the application, for the proper use. And the conversation began, or the lesson began, on: is martial arts something that happens to you, or is it something you do? Now, when I say that, when we start talking about that, I find that many years of my training, and I see training in many other people experiencing this, and that is when they think by practicing and rehearsing a few moves and kind of going through the dance choreographies and things of that nature, that suddenly they have skill. It's like they're in the Matrix and I got plugged in the back, and then now I know Kung Fu. Um, and then they struggle to spar and they struggle to actually apply the skills. And I look at that and it's like, that's the attitude that martial arts is something that happens to you. It's like the Iron Man suit or a cape or some kind of magic sword. You put it on and suddenly you have skill, but that's not how martial arts works. Traditional martial arts, modern martial arts, or what have you, are very practical things. They've always been. They've always been. Older martial arts struggle with time, interpretation, markets, and how many markets they have to go through, that they start to change and kind of adhere themselves to what's popular, competitions, social norms, and things of that nature. And that's where a lot of times in the teaching we can get this attitude that martial arts is something that happens to us. I put on my gi, put on my black belt or whatever belt, and suddenly I have skill. I have powers, right? But martial arts is not that at all. Martial arts is something you do, not something that happens to you. Which means the moves don't work if you don't put effort, if there's no focus, if there's no direction to your energy, right? You're doing something. You're developing something, right? So it's not enough to look like you're doing it. It's not enough to point your toe the certain way. It's important that your body's experiencing the energy, feeling the mechanics, moving through space, fighting against resistance, because self-defense is an effort against resistance. So it's always important to know that when you're doing whatever practice you're doing, whether you're working on shadow boxing, when you're boxing, or you're doing mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, Salat, Kung Fu, Karate, wrestling, whatever martial art you want to participate in, remember, it's not something that you walk in the classroom, you throw on the gloves, you throw on the thing, and throw on the uniform, and the teacher gives you a couple things to practice, you rehearse it a few times, and then eventually I'm just going to be great. You have to make yourself great. You have to make your technique work. You have to really reach for the practicalness of it. You have to say, this is supposed to work. Let's make it work. And if it doesn't work, maybe there's something wrong in the translation. Maybe you need to work on it. Maybe you need to think about it from another angle or standpoint. Maybe that's time for the technique to change a little bit, because you're doing it. You're causing something to happen. You're avoiding something happening to you. Martial arts is not something that happens to you. The skill in martial arts is not something that happens to you. The skill in martial arts is something you develop. It's something you do. You do and you practice. So I hope everybody gets a little insight out of that, a little enjoyment. So if you're practicing, practice. Make it work. Don't just rehearse. It's not a dance. Don't dance. Put some effort in there. And if you haven't started a class, please join us Thursday at Vibe Nutrition. Learn some God Fist. Learn some self-defense. And I'll show you how to get started.